Welcome back to another episode of Green Squad Chats. We got Adam, Travis, Tom, and Brandon from Green Squad here today. And today what's alive for us is the idea of making it or arriving and then thinking that, okay, I've accomplished all I need to accomplish. I've made all the money I need to make. I'm done. I'm just going to rest now. I've made it. And now I'm just going to ride off into the sunset. I think that, you can probably get to a point where you did that. But what's really coming up for me is the idea that we're either growing and learning and developing, or we're kind of declining. I don't think there really is a maintenance period. And I'll stop there just to see if anyone else has thoughts on that, because you could apply it to a lot of different things.
Couple interesting anecdotes is in the past 60 days, I've talked to 2 people who had 8-figure exits from businesses. So all the money you could ever want, right? And both of those people were like looking for something to do, basically. They felt stagnant. They were like, I'm going to do a little bit of real estate. And they exited like a medical business, and they exited a software business. And they have all the money they could ever want, but they're looking at doing something else with it because it's not satisfying. It's never the money. It's what the money allows you to do, the impact you want to make, at least what I find. For me, if I made $5 million this year, it has nothing to do with the money. It's all about what the money allows me to do, how it fills my purpose. And your purpose changes, I think, Brandon. I don't think when we got together 5 years ago, what I wanted then was way different than what I want to do now, and how my life has evolved, how my kids have evolved, how the impact I want to make has evolved. What my beliefs are, like what I believe is possible, is completely different than what it was 5 years ago.
The first thought I had, Brandon, as you started the intro, was how similar your thoughts were, your observations were to parenting. And I feel like at different stages, and my kids are 9 and 11, and I feel like at multiple different stages of their lives, Annie and I have looked at one another and been like, oh, good, we made it through that. We made it. Only to find out that there's something else hard looming. And hard's relative. A lot of things that are hard because we want them to be hard, because we want to be challenged to be the best parents we can be, to raise the best kids we can raise. So there's a little bit of user input there. And anyway, I think there's a similarity. That's the first thing that came to mind. And the second, Brandon, is that I agree wholeheartedly with the idea that we are either growing or declining. We're either getting better at something or we're stagnating, whether if it's exercise. If you're not exercising, your health, whatever the thing you were working on, is declining. There's physiological facts to back it up. And if you are exercising the thing, cardiovascular health, strength, whatever it is, you're getting better. To actually be able to maintain very, perfectly is like balancing on the head of a needle. I don't know that it's doable.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about this in terms of inflation the other day. And, you hear all the time, if your money is sitting somewhere and it's not earning at least whatever the current rate of inflation is, then you're actually losing purchasing power on that money that's just sitting in that account. And I related to this idea that we just hit a spot in our lives where we just stop learning, stop growing, stop developing. And it relates to inflation to me because the rest of the world is continuing to advance. In this day and age with AI, like it's rapid advancement. And so if you hit a point where you think you're I'm just going to kind of maintain what I'm doing, especially as it relates to you learning about new things and growing and developing, then you're actually declining because of the rapid rate of change for the rest of the world. I don't know if that hits with anyone.
No, that's apparent. When you guys get my age, you will find that technology is advancing faster than your ability to process it. And it's as much as I want to understand. Like I went to test drove some cars yesterday, analog, like seeing your little analog dial, and no, everything's push button, everything's electrical, everything. And I'm like, oh crap! Like the instruction book is getting thicker, and what I see young Marines do on their phone, Like, how do you, what? So it's real, it's apparent, and it's yeah. And I think that, you see those studies, right? Like people that will sleep overnight to get the new version of the iPhone, and then you have all the way down to the people who be like, hey, I've still got my iPhone 8. It works. I receive calls and texts. We're good, right? And that spectrum that exists. I think as you get older, you definitely start moving toward at least for me, it's harder and harder. And I realize it's getting harder. But going back to your original comment, Brandon, I've got an 8-digit friend, 8-digit earner friend currently. Built a bunch of different businesses, sold them, and he's a part of a mastermind, I guess like an accountability group, kind of like what we have, of people in his same position. Like, the money's not a factor. How do I scratch the entrepreneur itch, the philanthropy itch, the life fulfillment itch, and what they do about it? And it's interesting to talk to him, because like what Adam said, it isn't the money, it's just the purpose or the method of how do I fulfill my life and what capacity that is.
I'm curious what you guys think. What, for the person that is convinced either that they have made it, rightly or wrongly, or for the person who says, no, I don't want to continue to grow, and maybe those are, two sides of the same coin. Why do they think that? Is there a fear of growth? What do you guys think? Why does that happen?
Well, I don't know, would be my first response, is I don't know what they're thinking, but I can't imagine that some folks may realize that it's kind of uncomfortable to put yourself in a position where you're challenging yourself and you're trying to grow and you're trying to learn and develop and do new things and reach outside the comfort zone. I guess by definition, right? It's uncomfortable. And so, yeah, I think there are plenty of people who they're in a spot, they're happy with where they're at. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy with where you're at, but I mean, and then they just, hey, it's comfortable. I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to stay right here. I'm fine. I don't need to challenge myself right now. I make enough money. The family, we can do everything we want to do together. I enjoy my job. I enjoy my free time. And it's like, it's comfortable, right? And so I think they just stay there. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I don't think it's fear of growth. I think it's fear of failure. Well, I think a lot of people do have some burning desire to achieve. Like, achievement and significance is part of the human makeup. There's not a person in the world who doesn't want to achieve something, as small as it might be, or feel significant, even if it's in their own family or in their friend circle or at work. They want to have the feeling of achievement or significance. So then you start to fear failure. What if I don't achieve it? How will I be viewed? What if I'm not significant? And I think that keeps people in their comfort zone. It keeps them from taking the leap to go out and at least try to reach the fulfillment that they're looking for. They're scared in most cases.
So I didn't have a good answer when I posed the question. And as you guys have started talking, I agree with both. I think it is, some of it's case by case, but some of it's an and. As I reflect on times that I stagnated, that I had decline in an area of my life, and it was one of those two things, sometimes both, fear of failure or unwilling to get uncomfortable. And man, both are hard to overcome. The idea that, you got to sit in your discomfort, you got to experience this pain, you have to be willing to go through the thing in order to achieve and realize the growth. It's hard to push through. And I think in most cases, certainly in the last 5 years, any ability I've had to do that is due to having a strong network of support, which starts with Green Squad, having this group of people to help push me through that discomfort. And then, man, Adam, I totally agree. The fear of failure. What if I don't make it? What if I don't achieve it? Well, maybe I shouldn't even try. And again, I go back to Green Squad, right? Being able to share those feelings, those thoughts, put them out there, and then have people close to you challenge those assumptions has allowed me to overcome some of those fears.
I also agree. I think that sometimes if we take our good, honest looks at ourselves, there's things that we are stalwart individuals. We hold our flag on the hilltop and we're like, we own this space. We've got it. We're super confident. We're strong. And then maybe there's a part where I need to have a little bit of like my monkey backpack where I can only have a leash so long because I'm not quite comfortable. And there's other times in things that I have to, like, I'm stuck to my parents' leg and unwilling to move and frightened out of my mind, right? And I think that is the strengths and weaknesses that exist within people. And it also allows us to be honest brokers with ourselves, to be like, well, where can I learn to step off and do things? And why is it easy to be successful and strong and resolute in this area, but completely held back either through my own internal brain, right, my limiting beliefs, or just a lack of knowledge?
I kind of want to shift the gears here a little bit and apply the same concept to leadership. When a leader gets in a position where they think, I have nothing more to learn, I've made it to the top, I'm here for a reason, that reason is my expertise, my previous successes, whatever it is, I've made it. I think that's dangerous for a leader, because I think a leader with that mindset believes they know it all. They don't believe they have anything to learn from their team, from the different perspectives on their team. And I've been in the room with leaders who shut outside perspectives down, shut their teammates' ideas down because they think that they have the best ideas already. The leader has the best ideas already and they don't need any other input. And here's how we're supposed to do it. And let's go. Just do what I say. And I think that I haven't enjoyed working for leaders like that. And I don't think that they've been the most effective leaders. What do y'all think?
I think that comes back to, well, there's a couple. That one's deep, Brandon, but it comes back to them wanting to feel significant. I've made it. And entitlement like that, like I've earned this, I deserve this, I don't need to work for it anymore, it's egotistical. And a lot of people have fallen throughout history because of their ego. If you're driven by ego, which there's some underlying things, which I really do believe that's the desire for significance. And it's just a recipe for failure, especially as a leader, because authenticity always wins. When you believe you've made it, you put yourself on the pedestal. Your team sees that. Your team sees that there's no shared and common vision to grow as a team. Like, some people have made it and some people have to put in the work. Like, that's not going to create the type of team that is all rowing in one direction. It's just not.
Yeah, I'm aligned and certainly agree, Brandon, that the leader that feels that way is doomed to fail. You know, I think the most successful leaders have figured out how to strike a balance between taking input and knowing when it's time to stop taking input and make a decision, right? Whether it's hey, we got to make a decision now and I'm going to rely on my X amount of years of expertise and let's go. And more importantly, knowing the times that they don't need to do that and that they can step back, get input from teammates, mentors, colleagues in order to continue to learn and grow themselves.
As my job in the military right now is a part of analyzing units that we go and inspect and analyze. And that's one thing that is recurring over and over is you see the pride and ego supersedes people's knowledge base. And it's very rank specific, meaning that higher up the higher your rank or higher the hierarchy, your inability or refusal to say, I don't know, goes up or increases, as we all know, right, as military members. And when you have resources and you choose not to use them because, like, well, I'm this rank or I'm that rank, I don't need to look at the resources, you're setting yourself up and you're setting your subordinates up to regurgitate that same mindset and the same methodology, and it never works out, ever. Like, it's not, we haven't had an analysis where, like, oh, this person is so knowledgeable that everybody got 100. That doesn't happen. Everybody passed. No.
To your point too, Tom, the leader has to know when it's time to make a decision, for sure. And understanding, like, when there's room to fail, like when they can allow a new idea from a teammate, that teammate run with it. Even if you're in your mind as a leader, you're like, well, I've kind of seen this before. I don't think that's going to work, but it could, and we can afford to let this happen, right? So it certainly depends on the mission of whatever you're leading, the team you're leading, for sure. So for me, in that instance, the leader who thinks they've made it might not even be listening to the other perspectives, might not even be willing to accept that there could be some blind spots, that maybe this is a little bit different than what I'm used to, even though it seems similar. So they're unwilling to kind of accept that they might not know everything about the situation. Therefore, they don't accept perspectives from their teammates, and then they have blind spots and it could bite them in the butt. That's what kind of came up for me after you and Travis just got done talking.
Tom, when you were speaking, you and Brandon are both helicopter pilots. I don't know. Do you guys just say were or are? I don't know. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I don't know. Do you guys, are you still a Helo pilot since you're out?
I've got a rating. I've got an FAA rating. I'm a helicopter pilot.
So I guess my question is, when you're in the cockpit flying, you're not going to like, do you look to your your co-pilot and be like, well, what should we do here? Or you're executing because that's what is required at the time, right? For me as an engineer guy, like I'm going to be implementing billet holders and implementing like the whole co-development before the mission starts. Then once the project kicks off, well, then that's my time as a project manager, as the lead, whatever, to be making decisions, because that's when, it's different stages, I guess, when you were talking about like, hey, does the experience from what you were saying, Tom, make me have to make decisions now instead of, well, let's stop and think about it and everybody come in and provide their input, because there's times when that's not feasible.
I think to answer your question, Travis, I would say my answer, the way I did that evolved over my career. When I was a brand new aircraft commander back in, 2006, right? When I wasn't the co-pilot anymore for the first time, I probably did feel like I needed to make all the decisions. And that was because I was in a space of inexperience and I wasn't really an instructor yet. And then as I evolved, certainly at the end of my career, and my last flight was 2022, at that point, man, I'd let the rest of my crew make as many decisions as they could up until the point that we were, right at the edge of my comfort zone. And so as my comfort bubble grew as a leader, as an aviator, I would allow my team to fail so long as I felt that I had the experience to be able to recover, right? As long as we weren't going to negatively impact anyone, hurt anyone, risk the mission, whatever the mission was. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give them all that space to make decisions. But that, that's reflective of my own growth and experience, as well as a better understanding of what it is I was supposed to do.
Love that, Tom. It kind of reminds me of, again, the environment that you're leading in matters always. I mean, you could be in chaos, and as the person who may have the most experience, it's like, all right, well, what action do I need to take to get us out of the chaos, right? Or you could be in just steady state, like military speak here. You could be just finished a deployment and now you're in maybe a year period or so where your unit's not going to deploy or do anything. So you're kind of in a maintenance period. And so now that's a different environment, to where now as the leader, you got to understand the different environment. Okay, now I have more space and now I can really, hand a lot over and let my teammates kind of make some decisions that maybe if we were in chaos, I wouldn't be able to do because I wouldn't have the time to do it. And I think that translates to business. Like you're going to be in different situations, different scenarios. And so you got to understand the environment. That always matters. And that's why there is no one leadership, like follow these leadership steps. That's it. All the time, you just follow this checklist and you'll be a great leader. That's why that checklist doesn't really exist, because the environment, the circumstances, the people all matter all the time. Any other thoughts on that?
Leadership is like this. It's very squishy. It's very complex because it's all about people. It's like the human dynamics, the psychology of a human. And I think I just always go back to, like performance and authenticity, right? So I'm showing up every day for my team. Like I'm showing up, I'm performing, I'm doing my part, and I'm being my authentic self. And I think that to me, that has always been the recipe, for not, like, I'm not going to show up and be like, I've made it, because I have to show up every day and perform. I haven't made it. I'm in something right now. I have to show up. I have to lead. I have to give good guidance. I have to have clear priorities. I've got to lead by example. That means, physically, mentally, spiritually. There's a lot baked into that. And I've got to do it on a daily basis. I have to be consistent. There's nothing worse than an inconsistent leader where you don't know where they're at or what they want or what they're looking for.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think that we've kind of come to the end of this discussion, making it. Think twice before you adopt that mindset of I've made it. And, consider that maybe we don't ever make it. Maybe we're always, like it's been said a couple times, right? We always need to show up, not only for our team, but we show up for ourselves, and we show up in an authentic way. In other words, we know who we are. We know, or at least we're always defining or redefining, who we are, what we stand for, why we're here, what we're meant to be doing, we keep showing up and keep growing. I would strongly consider or recommend you consider that mindset or some version of it. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of Green Squad Chats. If you enjoyed it, please give us a review and let us know what you enjoyed. Or if there's something you'd like to see on these shows, give us some feedback and let us know how we can improve it. And we'll see you next time.